Thank you.
Next item is policy committee. First item up is the naming of schools.
Move to approve A and B.
Yeah, move,
A
second
and B.
that.
All right, second. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
15 days or 30 days.
Hold on. Oh, wait.
Potential
Hold on. Julie didn't, there was a lot of noise going on there. So Julie didn't hear who made the motion.
I made the motion to approve item A and B.
Mr. Frazier made the motion. And who seconded?
I did.
Reverend Collins seconded.
All right,
Jameson.
Did we vote?
okay.
We didn't vote.
Oh, and are we voting on here? Oh, sorry. I do that too. So go there. And then go to,
This will change before you erase it.
Are you sending it
Erase it after 30 days.
oh, was it for both of them or just for one? I didn't hear.
Item A and B.
It was
Both
for
of them.
A and B. Sorry, Julie's working on it. So board docs.
How we
It was a
vote?
unanimous vote on it.
We
Everybody.
vote honorable vote?
Board docs.
Everybody said aye, no opposed.
All right.
All right, next item up is the policy ECAA,
I want
video
to,
cameras in classrooms.
I want to move to approve with one change to it.
Okay,
Instead of the word 10 on page 2, 30. But not before 30 days have elapsed.
so 30 days instead of 10.
Right. Like
So
I'm
we've got a
saying.
motion to approve with the change of,
Okay.
okay,
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure that Michael is able to address what that change would mean.
I was going to say, because that's a capacity issue.
All right. It's a storage issue, right?
So we have a motion and a second on the floor, though. Okay,
who was the second on that?
I did. Kate.
Okay. All right, now discussion, go ahead.
So what's it, can you accommodate the change to 30 days?
So that would require a deep dive into the systems to see exactly where we are as far as retention on a server-by-server basis. And there may also be a systemic issue between the video surveillance cameras we have in our buildings versus the individual systems we have on each bus. So looking at it from a cost perspective, that's probably going to be an easier, more quicker number to get from the video surveillance in the buildings versus the almost 450 different systems we have on the buses that we would have to explore what it would take, and I'm guessing that would be a pretty heavy lift. But more research obviously needs to be done.
So you can come back between first and second readings and let us know? If it's too much, we won't do it. We'll figure out, we'll agree on a number of days that we can store video footage. But I was thinking maybe you can't use Google Drive, some of your video footage?
The school buses are they all have locally housed DVRs on the buses, so it's housed right there.
So you
on the bus
download it
itself.
to your system?
You only download it when you need it.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's only if there's a request for that video does it come off the bus.
I got you. And then, last, there may be some things that we just don't need, just, I guess garbage stuff. I guess you guys have to screen the garbage, but,
Right, there's some different things we can look at, and I think we can definitely come back with more information by
Okay.
second reading.
all right.
Okay, Mr. Hollenshed?
From a legal standpoint, if it's vital information that needs to be obtained by either us or somebody's doing a FOIA on it, it makes it seem like we're trying to get rid of information real fast. So we do need to look at protecting and preserving what we can for a particular time period for the needing it.
So can I ask, is this a change from the 10-year-old policy, the 10 days, or is that what you've been doing since 2010?
10 days is the original retention period. And when we took a look at the board policies that have been passed in other parts of the state, we're actually finding many of the policies are silent on the issue, but the ones who do speak to it are actually within 5 to 14 days.
Okay,
Is the range we're
what
seeing.
other questions going around? All right, Ms. Darby, go ahead.
Well,
sorry.
one,
Okay.
can Natalie answer Mr. Hollinshed's question, and then I can ask my question?
Sure, I just want to make it clear that this doesn't indicate that if there was an issue, for instance, if there was some matter in which the district was made aware of what was right on the bus, and the administration went to review that video and determine who was at fault or who started the fight or whatever from that video, we are already required to retain that.
Oh, so you're
This
in that.
policy would not affect the legal portion of it. Right, right.
Okay.
But, and can I,
Sorry,
so my
go.
question is, after looking at it, have there been any times that we've had an issue come up where somebody didn't know that there was a fight or a concern, so we taped over it, and then somebody came back and said, oh, we need this documentation for whatever it might be. Somebody got hurt, something like that. So has that happened before? And
Sure, it has happened
Okay.
on occasion. So I can say that in all of our new systems that we're installing and the FCO replacement cycle, we spec the servers for a 30-day retention schedule, but that's on the new systems that are going in.
so you're, based on what you said earlier, it sounds like the buses are going to be more of a challenge than the cameras in the classroom, so that we might be able to compromise on it. Okay.
One option may be to say 10 days, but on all new systems, you'll meet a certain minimum. So we could also look at that route, but we'll go back and run the numbers.
This is first reading, correct?
Yes,
it
it
is.
is.
Call a question.
All right, the question's been called. We'll go around the horn for voting. Ms. Darby?
Wow, we're voting on,
On the computer?
we got it.
I deleted it.
Oh, got it.
Before we run it out.
Voice call for Kevin, please.
Okay, Mr. Hollenshed, aye. Everybody else, if you'll vote online. Okay, the next item up is audit and finance. Just to give you an overview, tomorrow's audit and finance meeting is 2 p.m. directly across the hall. All board members are always welcome. Key items you see there, you'll be voting on next week. Budget revision, where the millage will stay the same, the district's going to recommend potentially moving some funds around based on what we voted on in June. Sales tax reallocation, just again, if something was over budget, under budget, will be, those funds will be shifted to another project. 8% bond resolution, refinancing of a bond that will lower our interest rate and save money. And then the item to really look into is the tax increment financing. That will be requested of you next week. So if you could reach out and ask any questions ahead of time before next.
Thing on
The
it?
TIF.
Yes, we've got it. We've got to act on it by October 8th. Otherwise, it affects
Or it's
us.
not seen any materials.
Got it. That should come forward,
It will.
what, Wednesday? Yep.
Todd, if we approve that TIF, how long will it be before we get a return on it?
They're asking for 30 years. It'll be up to you whether or not you want to participate or
So we will get nothing for 30 years?
right.
Okay.
Can I ask a quick
Yes.
clarification question on the policy, the video, the camera policy? Did we, because I wanted to make sure Julie knew, was Reverend Collins' motion to approve but extend us keeping it by 30 days? Or what was your motion, Reverend Collins?
30 days.
Still in the 30 days if we can.
Extend
Very
it,
specific, yeah,
And
that
that's
one
what they can understand that they may have to do different with the buses.
right.
I understand that.
So
They'll
we
come
can
back and let
just-
us know.
Between now, it's first and
Yeah.
second. Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, and the next item up are public comments, going back to Ms. Maureen McInerney. And then followed by that will be Ms. Ashley Wright. Is Ms. McInerney no longer? I'm good, thank you. You sure? Okay.
Thank you for letting me speak.
Yeah.
Today, you've been presented with proposals for large-scale expansions of Beast Academy, one of the magnet programs that you tell us are the problem. Ignoring the inconsistency in that expansion, the Beast Kindergarten was expanded this year. You doubled the class size and you lowered the admission score. Did diversity increase? Not one bit. You got zero increased diversity. If your goal was to improve diversity, you failed miserably. The racial makeup of District 20 has changed, so clearly expansion, particularly within District 20, does not equal diversity. If your goal is to serve a gentrified peninsula, then you're well on your way. If you genuinely want diversity, you know what to do. We've talked about some of those things today, and I'm excited to hear you talking about improving pre-K access in those programs. You need to provide transportation. And the third thing that you didn't talk about today, I've mentioned it previously, but you need to provide community outreach to help parents with the application and deadline process for Beast Academy. I've sat in those waiting rooms waiting for both of my children to test, and I can tell you that the racial makeup of those waiting rooms mirrors the class exactly. Unfortunately, you're sorely lacking in diversity in terms of your applicant pool. And until you increase the applicant pool and add black and brown people to that applicant pool, you're not going to see additional diversity at Beast. And that's going to require community outreach, and I hope you'd be willing to do that. I was so impressed with the academic magnet graduates who sat up and talked about some of the things that they'd like to see happen there. And I've actually talked to Mr. Scardong separately about some of that, and I think we actually agree. It's a little bit of a different concept when you're talking about an elementary school, but certainly diversity is something that needs to be addressed, and the current plans don't do it. So if you want to make changes, I strongly recommend you start there. The bottom line, don't cherry pick a few lines from the Clemson report or the Mission Critical report to justify making radical changes that neither group is actually recommending. Thank you.
Thank you. And that completes our public comments for the day. The last thing, we've got an upcoming meeting is we will meet next Monday will be our next meeting. Again, tomorrow is Audit and Finance at 2 p.m. And if there are no other items.
Move to adjourn.
All right, thank you. We're adjourned.